chromosome. Push the coochie out and made you, instead of you having ovaries and the clitoris, now you got dick and balls. Right? But all of the zygotes of every child that's ever in the womb is always female first. So if you was a female in the womb before you was a male, you got to know that the woman was first. Genetics prove it. The history prove it. The earth record prove it. And the fact that men can't pass the mitochondria tell you where all of this coming from.
Hey, that's what I asked brothers earlier, because I asked brothers this question because I thought about it. I said, what would you pick? If you could pick 40 acres and a mule or the coochie, which one would you pick? And a lot of brothers say, oh, I'll take the 40 acres, right? And the old man told me, he said, well, if you, because I was thinking I've been slick taking the 40 acres, man. Like, I don't know, because they put us in this mindset. But he said, okay, so he said then, but the other man picked the coochie, right? But the man that picked the land, he ended up dying out because he couldn't produce no kids without no coochie. So the man that took the coochie inherited the land. His kids inherit the land. Because the old other man that took the land, he didn't have no coochie, so he couldn't make no kids. The children are the inheritors of the land by way of the mitochondrial DNA through the mother. That's why they after the kids, and that's why they after the mothers. I'm telling you, man.
Look, what's the purpose of a bar mitzvah and a bar mitzvah?
Go ahead. Let me hear what you
right. Those are graduations from childhood into adulthood. Yeah. That's what they call Judaic tradition.
Right.
Right. And age for the bar mitzvah or bar mitzvah is average 13.
Right.
The boy now inherits from his family members giving him his start in life when he turned 13.
Go ahead.
He is responsible to sit under the elders at that point and learn his manly responsibilities in taking care of his family.
Yeah.
The female is the suitor now, and she's supposed to sit and be instructed until she get a man on how to be a wife.
Right.
Once she get because she gonna pick, and she gonna be coached by the women in her clan to pick. But when she picked, the man then have another responsibility. Any man that ever hook up with a woman got a responsibility to assess what she know, right? What she don't know, and how to cooperate with you. Anything that she know that's beneficial, you make sure you enhance that. And anything that's detrimental, you have to let her know. Right? And like a lot of women don't know that dressing provocative automatically is creating a hostile environment for the man that she say she love.
Yeah.
It ain't that he don't want you going out a certain way, but if you go out a certain way, it makes it more difficult for him to serve you and protect you and perform his duties. You're going to keep him fighting all the time.
Right.
Right. But if you respect him, then you carry yourself in a respectable manner that you keep him from having to bust heads.
Right.
Right. Me, I don't really care how she dresses. As long as she happy, I'm happy.
Right.
Man, I don't got no problem with busting heads.
Right.
So it don't matter to me. But the way that everything is structured now, the single women is more modest than the married women. And that doesn't make sense. It's supposed to be the other way around.
That's facts, bro. You're saying a lot. Could you break down the mother-son connection with the Mason, the mitochondria, the information being passed down from the first teacher being the mother?
Everybody know that.
Yeah, right.
It's in everybody's doctrine, whether it's implied or whether it's overt. In the Old Testament, it say wisdom is justified of her children. Right? In mystic circles, they say wisdom spills from the mouth of the mother and lands on the heads of the babes. Right? All of them know that. There's a very popular book called At the Feet of the Master. Who you think the master is, mama? Right? And this is the origin of Ma's son, the Mason. The son who sat under the mama to get the wisdom in order to override the intelligence. Because the intelligence alone will make you despotic, but wisdom will make you more attentive to the needs of the collective. So the child that the father picked, he ain't gonna be the one, because he gonna have too many character flaws that if you bring him to his attention, y'all might get into a fight. But the one that was under the guidance and direction of mama normally wins out, because he's approaching things with a wisdom's view as opposed to an intellectual linear logic view. I mean, he's seeing from multiple directions the same thing everybody else seeing, but they're only seeing it from one. Right? You can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't know what to do with it, you can't use it. And wisdom is the ability to properly apply the knowledge in places where you didn't even know it apply until you tried it out and it worked.
Hey, y'all, we'll take some questions from the crowd, man. We got about 30 minutes. Hey, we'll take some. Hey, y'all got any questions for Rod containing the title? Because a couple people said they had questions. We'll take a couple questions, man, because we on fire right now, man. We in the zone on this mitochondric DNA, the matriarch rule. Man is not older than mitochondric, man. And then show me one man. I got into a debate with some Hebrews, man. I said, man, y'all, they talking about what Adam was the first man. They still selling us this Adam. I'm asking them, did Adam have a belly button? You know, well, we don't know.
If you really want the truth, they don't know if Adam was a man or a woman.
Go ahead.
If you really want the truth, they don't know if he a man or a woman until they pair him with Eve.
Go ahead.
Before that, he's just Adama, meaning he's from the earth.
Yeah.
He earthborn. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what the name Adam means. He's from the earth, from the soil of the earth.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe the rib they talking about was a parthogenic birth, and that Eve was really a daughter helping her mother out.
Go ahead.
As a developing tribal leader. I'm just, giving you an alternative perspective to look at it.
Yes, the Hebrews say they teach it. It's the father line. It's everything's from Jacob. It's the father. We can get into all the paradigms of Yaakov and all that. But I'm saying that what they teaching now on the streets is that your father, they overlook religious. It's something like about some religious clans. They overlook blatant facts and religion, science, just for because it said right here in the book. So is it possible that book could be wrong? Oh, they see God ain't wrong. And even if you present the evidence to them, they still say, oh, they override it. God override. If the grass green and God said it's blue in the Bible, that's what it is. That's blue, man. You got to be tripping, man. You talking about some science and all that. You going off too deep.
That's myopic perspective of looking at things.
Yeah.
And the belief that a person holds, it comes out in his character as a character defect if the information is defective.
Go ahead.
Right? So when we look at them books, and we in 2024 negotiating and debating something that the people that is being talked about had no clue it was even being written.
Go ahead.
Because the majority of the story was written years after the so-called death of the so-called person that they talking about. Under the matriarchy, we was warring tribes, but we didn't go to war. Vice Lord, this is a comment in the
yeah, I see it
section. So vice lords and GDs, vice lords is the parents. The children is gangster disciples, Cobra Stones, P Stones, black disciples, devil disciples, Satan, all those is the babies. Vice Lord is the mother clan, or what we would call it in a way where you can understand it. The Vice Lord line is the master bloodline across the land, and it's represented by the colors of black and gold. The children off the father's side is the blue house. The children off the mother's side is the red house. And then you have all of the children becoming to their own, and they draw their own families. And then you have other clans start to trickle out of that. Right? Like Big Meat's a 50 boy, right? But he come in through OGs that had ties to these groups called BKs and Fleeins that don't exist anymore. But for the time that they was here, they left offspring as children of a clan, right? And then these offspring form their own clan, and this is what they call gangbanging. When somebody try to form his own clan, he's going to always meet with opposition. This opposition that he's meeting with is testing his grit and leadership to determine if he's worthy to the soldiers in the field to be a general that they can take instructions from. So he's going to become embroiled in tribal conflict. The closest to what we used to do before the settlers came is what they do in California. You got a problem with me? Run that fade. Run that fade. Meet me over here and run that fade. Right? And if you about what that life like you say you is, win, lose, or draw, when it's over, you're going to be a man. You're going to take your L or take your W, and you're going to take your ass home and continue to go on about your business. If you feel like the fade wasn't fair because his skills was better than yours, go train. Get in better shape.
That's right. So I took
right. Let him know you coming back. I'm coming back. You got down this time, but let him know you coming back. You asking for a rematch. Where do you think that's come from in boxing? Rematch. Right? All that's tribal culture that they monetize or villainize.
That's what I see.
So back in the day, when you go look at Larry and Angel Bay, they all had somebody with them that throw them hands on their behalf, because they didn't want their leaders throwing hands where they end up jacked up. So they all had a fighter. They had them hands, right? And they can't be no slouch with them hands themselves, because you might be somewhere out and your fighter ain't with you. You got to be able as a man to defend yourself, right? That's the tribal way. All of the gunplay come in and the killing each other because the nigga that took the fade couldn't stand to lose. Now his ego hurt, and ain't none of his OGs telling him what's right, because we got outsiders in our community saying, man, I wouldn't take that. I'd blow his brains out if he whooped me like that. But our OGs didn't raise us like that. They raised us, you get your ass whooped, you go figure out where you lost at, then you go back. Or as our mamas used to tell us, you're going to fight that nigga every day till you win.
Yep. My grandma put you in the car, drive your behind back crying now.
Back to their house.
Don't come around here crying. Oh, yeah, you finna go back around here and fight. Yeah.
So
got that in the gown.
if we really understand our history and how we move as a people, and we know that when the unity come, when we see the chiefs together, all of the vice lords chiefs, they got 5 chiefs, right? Stone's got 1 king, Angel Bay. Crips got 1 king, Big Tookie. Folks got 1 king, right? In some of the subsections, You got some princes, you got some dons, right? But only one king. We had two kings, but one of the kings was removed from his position of power under some suspicious circumstances. King David, the king of all kings, right? And King David, if he would have been still around, would have been very close alliances with all of the above, because the goal is to bring all of the clans together in order to remember what they did to take our knowledge from us. How did they brainwash us? Once we figure it out, one of us gonna come back and tell the rest of us they tricked us by putting people that look like us among us to start beef between us and then leave us standing there holding the bag. Look, I had some sisters. My big sister, she'd go down there, and if it get too thick, she'll fight with you. She'll fight right along with you. Because sometimes you be to whoop somebody and they homeboy feels some type of way, and he felt like he should have been the one fighting you. And now you exhausted from the first fight. Now you doing what's called double duty on the fade, right? Then what if you get down on him? Now they need to put two of them on you because one of them can't whoop you. And now we got what's called a gang fight.
Right? They call them a 2 fade minimum. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
2 fade minimum around here, cuz I mean you gotta fade 2 niggas. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you gotta get down. Well, how you get down, like I say.
If you go back and watch COINTELPRO's disruption of the community by targeting the developing leaders, it's gonna be so obvious what we was trying to do and what they was trying to stop us from doing. Right? We trying to provide for our families and our communities, and they trying to keep us from doing that so that they can exploit and suck all of the wealth out of the community. They got to make us believe that they the ones that's legitimate, even though they not. So they use uniforms to make them look like they legitimate. But your uniform don't make you more legitimate than my blood, right, buddy?
Right. Hey, Lord of Flyness. He not talking about David from the Bible. He talking about King David Barksdale.
Yeah. Talking about David Barksdale.
Yeah. I think you talking about King David from the Bible. Same thing, though. If you want to really look at it,
if you want to look at it, because we can use that as an example to examine how they was using that Messiah search in order to target which leaders to take out.
Facts.
Right, and you got to remember, in the Bible, King Saul was hunting King David. King Saul represents the government. King David represents the government to come. Right, so we can still use the same paradigm, right? We just was not as abreast of the covert means of subjugation and subterfuge within the community by using people that look the part, but they not us. And they was the ones pulling the strings, and they came down to tell us the lies in order to make sure that we believed it because somebody that looked like us said it.
Somebody asked okay, after we got Donald Trump in there now. We know we got the game down. We know the Federal Reserve. We know they put us in the Wizard of Oz. We know the matriarch is coming back in. They're saying, could we see a war, a world, or another big war coming, or like a battle, like something like what?
Listen, we've been fighting a war underground for the last 5.5 years.
Go ahead.
The average person have no freaking clue of the amount of massive military movement within the inside of the earth that's been taking place for 5.5, almost 7 years.
Go ahead.
Right? Ever since Donald Trump took power and gave them the green light to go ahead and breach those tunnels.
Yeah.
And get them babies out of there. This is what this is all about. This is what's been going on, right? The war already over with. And you can wait on it. They're going to use all of the satire of the news to use it to segue into the real disclosure of what really happened. That's why you was having earthquakes in places that don't have earthquakes.
North Carolina. Yep, I remember that.
Yep, they would have one up by Philadelphia. Them was tunnels. All you got to do, and you go back, go to 2020, 2019, 2021. They got a map, it's called a seismological map that measures earthquakes. And all of the ones that was being demolition, the signature to look for is between 2.3 to 2.6 on the Richter scale. They will never be higher than that. And they won't be lower than that. Anything higher than that you have a sinkhole coming, because now it's if it's a tunnel that they blew that caused a sinkhole, it's going to be a bigger blast, but it's going to be a sinkhole develop after it because they filling in some of them caves.
Man, I just heard about a man house falling in. He was man was sleeping in his room.
So if you find a sinkhole in a place where it don't seem normal to you, go to the seismograph and look back the week leading up to that and look for 2.3. No, for it to be a sinkhole, they got to be 2.6 to 3.5 earthquake. And that's when the sinkhole will form at the top of it. So in the week before that, right, it should be almost ground zero. And you'll be able to see it's a 3.5. Yeah, that's the sinkhole. They blew a big, giant cavern. Some of the caverns, you could put these skyscrapers in them and won't touch the top. It's huge. Right? And then you got people underground that's helping us coming from the inner earth, trying to run the ones that was in the median earth out, flush them out so they run into the hands of the special forces groups from around the world that was fighting them underground. It was a coordinated attack from people in Shambhala and Egg Arthur with the Earth Alliance, because they part of the Earth Alliance. In the Galactic Council on cleansing the Earth. They got to get it done. The reason why you don't have a sudden disclosure is because the cleanup is taking way longer than anticipated. They originally thought it was going to take between 2 and 5 years. 3 years into the Trump administration, they realized it was really going to take more like a 8 to 10 year period. So this is when they decide to interject the 4 years of Democratic rule under Kamala and Sleepy Joe. And then they can play out the narrative of the fall of Babylon's harlot by using that same satirical stage show. And now they to the part where now they got to start telling them about the deep state actors that was tried in Gitmo. They got to run the tribunals. The people got to see who was tried, what they was tried for, their crimes, what they did. All this got to come out. It ain't just us saying it. They have to show it to the people eventually anyway. It's just that we trying to coach them to pay enough attention to accelerate the process.
And they was wondering why Sleepy Joe stepped down, and we heard that his son pled guilty to working with the Russians. On
Not
behalf
only
of the
that,
state.
they say Joe Biden pardoned him, but guess what? Somebody filed some paperwork with Congress or with the Supreme Court to block the pardon. That ain't never happened in the history of the pardon system.
Nah.
Nobody's never blocked the pardon before. I mean that all that was satirical. That's not true.
Okay.
Right? Because they using that because the Hunter Biden case reveals they indicted Joe already for the same case.
Yep, they did.
Right. So since he under indictment and he haven't been the president the whole time.
Right. That's right.
Right. They've been running psychological operation using deep fake and skin masks and people falling for it. Right. So whatever going on, they doing it to prove a point of how ignorant some of us can actually be.
They tell us right to our face what all was going on. Then they tell us, oh, look at Bobby and Whitney. Point over at Bobby and Whitney, but the whole time they over here robbing us blind. Are still running some kind of under-scheme game and fraud, pretty much treason.
Look, they will kill a celebrity to get some politically past the people.
Yeah.
Hey, look, they will kill the politician in order to make a celebrity out of somebody.
Hey, you heard about that guy that's a part of that was the head of the health department, and they say, oh yeah, well he got somebody killed him, and they say, oh yeah, the guy that killed him, he used the silencer. I said, man, that's a hit. The guy that's the head of the CEO of the World Health Department, the World Health Association.
It was definitely a hit.
Yeah, the dude had a silencer in New York, and he got hit in Manhattan.
You know why they killed him, though?
Why?
Because when Trump won the election, he promised to give the public the report. He was on his way to the press conference to spill all of the fraud of the whole medical industry. He was going to come clean and spill the beans from the manufacturing of the because he made a deal with the government, with the Trump administration specifically, that if Trump got back in office and that they, instead of them just coming arresting them and putting him through the tribunals, that he would be the whistleblower that give the whole medical establishment up. That's why Bobby Kennedy was appointed. That was his green light.
Yeah.
Right. That was telling him, now it's time for you to come out and tell the people. In the deep state, I told you they got Manchurian candidates everywhere.
They activated that nigga, got him up out.
They just activated one out there at a 7-day Adventist elementary school. Now, remember when I was going over that information, I said that the elementary schools, they have to use an external shooter because the children too young for them to use as a shooter. And this was an external shooter, and they say he unalived himself.
Yeah, that sound like Manchurian action. Yep, that sound like a part of the end. What they had in the program to do this, because most of them like that. You notice like at least 70% of them school shootings, especially if they Manchurian candidates, they unalive themselves. Right after,
that's part of their program.
Yeah, it's part of the program.
It's called the no capture fail safe. That means that you can't interview them to find out who sent them.
Yeah, that's right. And that's the same thing they do with them some agents, CIA agents. They train them to be just like that. Man, that's crazy though. Yeah, so that guy get hit, and he's about to tell about the Obamacare and all that, how they was
rigging. No, biological warfare.
Yeah. That's what it is.
He was finna he was finna expose the entirety of the medical system to how they control the doctors and make the doctors because most doctors is not there to harm nobody.
Yeah.
Most doctors is generally good-hearted people that want to help.
Yeah.
And then you got the ones just naturals at it that just want the money.
Yeah.
Right.
Program.
But the ones that want to help, they are under a contract.
Yeah.
Through the AMA. All this stuff would have been exposed. He's finna give you the whole full rundown of the medical industry from big pharma to your local hospital. He's finna spill the beans.
Yeah.
They couldn't allow that to happen.
Nah,
but it's still gonna come out.
Yeah, it's gonna come out. You already know. It's that time. But he's finna spill $1 billion-trillion operation though. See, ain't nothing to put $1 million, 100,000 on the guy that finna try to take down $1 trillion operation. Man, they put $2-3 million on him easy, and didn't even. They was glad to do it, and probably would have had a cup of coffee right after the fact.
Look, the biggest problem they have is people that push cleanses. Because most of our sicknesses was given to us in a dormant state to be activated on a time schedule, just like time release capsules.
Right.
They got time release illnesses. And some people not gonna get it till they 60. The doctor tell you in the hospital, he say, yeah, you got this particular situation, but when you get about 60, it'll turn into this.
Yeah. Yeah.
This a time release illness.
Dang, bro.
It's a lot. Like, I want the people to find out a lot of that stuff from the people that was doing it.
Yeah.
Because to discover all of the things that they are doing and you telling them, most people be like, that's too much.
Yeah.
It ain't that you don't know to have. It's like the Tuskegee experiment, man. I used to tell people about the Tuskegee experiment when I first learned about it. And they were like, yeah, right. The government wasn't giving nobody syphilis.
Right.
Then this came out in a news report on the news, and I'm minding my business. People coming from everywhere talking about, man, they was giving people syphilis, man.
Yep.
The same people I just told. Same people called me crazy.
Yeah. It's a part of colonization.
Indeed, yeah. And some of them came back and said you was right, but most of them act like they had just heard it for the first time. Because I was crazy when I said it, so it didn't count.
Yeah, this part of extermination. And them people, man, and the way them people was looking when they was getting injected with that shit, they look like they didn't even have a clue to what's going on, man. And them folks was laughing like they was smiling.